Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of how professional dart players throw. We've got this detailed guide, and we're going to break down the mechanics behind their amazing accuracy.
That's right. The mission basically is to understand those key techniques pros use, stance, grip, the throw, follow through. We're aiming to go beyond just the basics here.
Yeah, really dig into what the experts do. So where do we start? The foundation, I guess.
Exactly. Let's start with stance. It's the absolute bedrock of a consistent throw.
Okay, stance. The guide really hammers home how crucial this is for, repeatability. It's your anchor point.
Totally. And what jumps out straight away is just how much variety there is. You see pros using forward stances, closed or side stances, angled ones, even the occasional open stance.
It's not a one-size-fits-all thing at all.
Up and close. It's fascinating, actually. Paul Nicholson, for instance, he talks up the forward stance. But then you have Wayne Mardle suggesting a side stance can feel more relaxed.
Right. Different perspectives already. And Nicholson also mentions Gary Anderson, doesn't he? How stable he looks with a closed stance, like a pillar.
Yeah, he does. And Nicholson even talks about his own setup, lining up with the right side of the treble 20 using that closed stance. It's very specific.
And then there's Michael Van Gerwen. His stance is, well, pretty extreme, isn't it? Very closed, with that shoulder inclined.
That extreme closed stance, you could argue it allows for more body rotation, maybe generating more power or forward momentum into the throw.
That makes sense. And the angled stance. The guide kind of positions that as a stable middle ground, yeah.
Sort of a hybrid, yeah. Offers a bit of stability from both. And the open stance, less common, but the guide points out it can shift your release point further out towards the board.
Interesting. And the little individual tweaks are quite revealing, too.
Oh, definitely. Like Dynamite Dave, he stands shoulder width, dominant toe, right on the ouch that's the throwing line, for anyone wondering, really emphasizing that solid base.
Then you've got Peter Wright, who puts almost all his weight on that straight front leg, even lifting his back foot slightly. Talk about balance.
Right. And Gerwin Price leans quite heavily over his right knee. Raymond van Barneveld, too, positions the tip of his front foot right in the center of the ouch. Maybe that helps him, cover the board more easily.
It could do. So, okay, with all these different styles, what's the main message for someone listening who wants to improve their stance? Is there a best way?
Well, that's the key point the guide makes.
Yeah.
There isn't one universally correct stance. The absolute priorities are repeatability and comfort. What feels natural and stable for you.
So find what lets you throw the same way every time, basically.
Exactly. Think about how Van Gerwen's power might come partly from that intense posture, or how Wright's unique balance suits his rhythm. It's about finding your most consistent platform.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move on to the next point of contact, the grip. How players actually hold the dart. The guide says it's vital for control and feel.
Absolutely crucial. And just like stance, wow, the variation is huge.
First thing is the number of fingers, right?
Yeah.
Some use 3, some use 4.
Yeah, you see Gary Anderson and Dynamite Dave often using 3 fingers. Michael Van Gerwen, on the other hand, frequently uses 4.
And even within 3 fingers, there are differences. Anderson sometimes rests his middle finger on the point itself.
That's a specific one, yeah. Then there's where they hold the barrel. Huge differences there, too. Rear grippers, middle, front. Some players even gripped partly on the stem.
Really?
On
With them.
Yeah. The guide mentions Kim Hybrex with a rear grip. Anderson prefers the front. Phil Taylor had that famous middle pencil grip. Van Barneveld also tends towards the front.
So how does where you grip it affect things?
Well, it can influence the dart's angle on release and its flight path. A rear grip, for example, might naturally lead to a slightly higher release or a loopier trajectory, but just as important as location is the pressure.
Ah, yes, the potato chip analogy.
Exactly. Hold it firm enough so you don't drop it, but relaxed enough that it doesn't tense up your arm or wrist. Wayne Mardle really stresses avoiding tension for a smooth release.
Makes sense. Tension is the enemy of consistency, I guess. What about finger placement on the barrel? For balance and stuff?
Yeah, that's critical for controlling the dart's angle and ensuring a clean release. A lot of players try to get a slight upward angle on the dart when it's sitting in their hand. Helps with the arc.
Like aiming slightly nose up.
Kinda, yeah. Dynamite Dave, again, talks about keeping the point really stable. He uses a straight thumb, locks his index finger during the drawback, and uses his last finger under the point to help get that elevation.
Wow, really subtle details.
They are, but they add up to create that consistent feel and release they need, dart after dart.
This has been really insightful. Just breaking down these two fundamental bits, stance and grip, shows how much thought goes into it at the pro level.
It really does. It looks simple, maybe, but the mechanics are incredibly refined.
Okay, so for everyone listening, here's something to think about, maybe a little homework. Try filming yourself throwing. Have a look at your stance, look at your grip. How do they measure up to what we've talked about?
Yeah, do you see any similarities to the pros, or more importantly, could making a small tweak based on, repeatability or comfort help your consistency?
Exactly. What feels right and repeatable for your throw. And remember, this is just scratching the surface. So we've still got aiming, the throw itself, and that all-important follow-through to dive into next time.